First to the UN, where the Security Council has strongly condemned Pyongyang's long-range rocket launch. North Korea's state TV said a rocket carrying an Earth observation satellite had been successfully put into orbit. The launch has provoked condemnation from many countries, including South Korea, Japan, the US and Russia. Following an emergency meeting, the Security Council said Pyongyang had violated 4 separate UN resolutions. The US ambassador to the UN, Samantha Power, described the launch as a direct threat and is rallying the Council to take an aggressive response.
Pyongyang claims it launched what it called a peaceful Earth observation satellite. But nobody is fooled. So-called space launch vehicles are the same technology as ballistic missiles, which are expressly prohibited by multiple Security Council resolutions. We're looking forward to expeditiously consulting with our colleagues in the coming days, and we will be looking to all Council members to unite around a swift and aggressive response to the DPRK's repeated violations that constitute this very direct threat to global peace and security.
Well, GABRIEL ELIZONDO has been tracking developments in New York. He joins us live now from the United Nations. Strong words from Samantha Power, Gabe, but any indication as to what the response might be from Security Council members now?
Well, it's clear from the Security Council that they think that simply a statement condemning this is certainly not going to be enough. They're talking now about another Security Council resolution. There's already been 4 on the table that this launch violated all 4 of those. So beyond a resolution, which is being worked on in the coming days and weeks, we're told, there's an understanding that there could very potentially be more sanctions. But again, there are already a long list of sanctions that are against North Korea right now. So the real challenge by diplomats here at the United Nations is to kind of figure out what more they can do in the coming days and weeks to try to convince Pyongyang to stop. Because clearly everything that's been done so far has fallen on deaf ears. Now, we heard from all sorts of ambassadors after the meeting. The meeting itself was closed, a private meeting, but we heard from the French ambassador who said the UN Security Council weakness can no longer be an option. We heard from the UK deputy ambassador who said that this action by North Korea merits strong and swift UN Security Council response. The key country on the Security Council related to North Korea, yes, that's China. The Chinese ambassador did not formally speak to journalists at the podium like what you saw Samantha Power do, but as he was leaving, we were able to throw him a question. He stopped just for a second. We asked him about the meeting. All he would say is that China is working on a new resolution with the Security Council, and he said, we hope that it reduces tensions to help maintain peace and security in the region. So a little vague, and what's key about what China has to say about this is because China will be instrumental in deciding on the Security Council how far they go in this new resolution they're working on and how far particularly they go on sanctions if they decide to go down that road.
Because of North Korea's isolation in the world, there has been some skepticism as to the effectiveness of sanctions. What are the options before the UN at this point when it comes to finding a way to influence North Korea's behavior?
Well, 2 words, not many. The Security Council is really in a difficult spot. You sort of sense that as you were hearing U.S. Ambassador Samantha Power talk. She even said, we're going to try to figure out what we can do beyond the sanctions that are already in place. And there are a long list of them already in place. So they might try to tighten those even more. They might try to find more targeted sanctions. But again, it's going to come down to China, because in the past, China has been very reticent to go very hard against their key ally, North Korea. We saw that just last month when there was a nuclear test in North Korea. The Security Council condemned it. China condemned it in very strong terms, at least for Chinese standpoint. But the U.S. and China were still negotiating on that resolution, and that was weeks ago. And now they've got this new crisis in their lap. So it's very difficult the position the Security Council is in. So they were trying to today at least show unity that they are going to pursue stronger and swifter action. What that will entail, only the coming days and weeks will we be able to really find out.
Well, Gabriel Elizondo, live for us at the United Nations there in New York. Thank you very much. Well, that's the reaction of the international community. Let's get more now on the launch of the rocket itself and how it played out in North Korea. Harry Fawcett has been following those developments from Seoul.
North Korea had already brought its week-long launch window forward by a day, and it wasn't wasting any time. Just 2 hours into that window, the rocket carrying the Kwangmyongsong, or Bright Star satellite, lifted off, all overseen by the country's young leader and relayed by its most famous newsreader.
The complete success made in the Kwangmyongsong 4 liftoff is the proud fruition of the Great Workers' Party of Korea's policy on attaching importance to science and technology. It's an epochal event in developing the country's science, technology, economy and defence capabilities.
It's that defence capability that so worries regional and world powers. A rocket that can launch a satellite could also carry a nuclear warhead, even if this one, slow to fuel and hard to conceal, is far from the ideal weapon.
This system itself doesn't really have military applications, but nevertheless, some of the applications, some of the technologies, some of the systems and subsystems they could use for the military programs.
South Korea's president immediately convened her National Security Council, calling the launch an unacceptable provocation.
Recognizing the nuclear missile threat by North Korea as a threat to the international community and world peace, the Security Council should quickly come up with strong sanctions.
Seoul also announced that it would start formal consultations with the United States on deploying America's THAAD anti-missile defense system on South Korean soil. That's a signal not just to North Korea, but also to China. Beijing is resolutely opposed to the deployment of the THAAD system so close to its territory. The United States and South Korea are trying to pressurize China to get tough on its ally. Kim Jong-un has made the pursuit of economic success and a viable nuclear weapon the twin guiding principles of his rule. So far, he's proved as immune to Beijing's attempts to persuade him otherwise as anyone else's. In Pyongyang on Sunday, there was celebration. This launch comes at the start of the Lunar New Year and just days before the birthday of the current leader's late father, Kim Jong-il. North Korea's space agency called it a gift to the nation. Harry Fawcett, Al Jazeera, Seoul.